Hey everyone, this is Trev, and you're watching Trev's Tips on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be discussing VPNs, Virtual Private Networking. This is kind of going to be a 101 class on VPNs, what they do, and how they protect your data security and your internet browsing privacy. This has become a massive issue, so let's find out a lot more.
I just wanna see the light.
This article on Total Retail, which is the retailer source for content and community, and I find it ironic that they're using ad trackers at the moment. They've got 12 of them, as you can see up here in Ghostery. We'll talk more about ad trackers a little bit later, and then I'm going to be doing some separate videos on just that subject and ad blocking, and kind of going into some more of the how to protect your data and stay private on the internet. But today's focus is on VPNs, and this article talks about ad retailers using ad trackers and possibly at the expense of consumer privacy. It is not just retailers. Let me tell you right now, it is every single website out there on the internet. And this type of tracking is being done by everybody. We're talking search engines. We're talking analytics software that every website is using. Of course, advertisements are being used, and of course, e-tailers like Amazon and the rest, they all deeply want to track your data. So what are they looking for, and what are they compiling? Well, they're compiling kind of a picture about you. They want to build a profile about you, where you live, the type of searching that you're doing, the type of internet browsing that you're doing, the websites that you're visiting, people you may be contacting online. I mean, it is literally endless, the type of data that they will try to collect from you. And now, how do they do this? Well, typically on your web browser, they're going to go ahead and put a cookie on there. And so they'll be able to go ahead and track you and then tie that into your IP address and continue to track you along. So what VPNs do to stop this part of the tracking process is they basically hide your IP address. And there's much more that they do. We're going to find out about that in a second. Another thing that VPNs are great for is they will stop anybody from being able to sniff your data. And that sounds funny if you've never heard that term, but the reality is you have a data stream. When you connect to the internet, that data stream is being sent through your internet service provider, wherever it is, and people who have access to that can actually look into that data stream and pull out your username and password. So now let's look back over on our on this graphic and take a look at what VPNs are and how they connect, so that we can kind of understand this. Before I get to that, I want to tell you that we're going to be using private internet access, as I mentioned before. I've been using private internet access, which is a VPN, for years. It works terrifically. It is so I've tested it very well. It does have some downsides. We'll talk about that at the end. I've also put a link in the description down below the video, so if you click through that link, I would really appreciate it if you're planning on buying the service, because I would get a commission for that, and that will help to support me while I make more and more of these videos on internet privacy as well as other things. So finally, if you like this video and you feel like I'm giving some good info, please click the thumbs up and give me a like on the video, and also subscribe to the channel, because we're early on, but I'm going to be doing a lot more videos that should be very informative and helpful to you, just like this one. So let's talk about the connection of the VPN. What is a VPN? Well, again, Virtual Private Network. And how does it work? Well, here we are over here in this section where the remote roaming users would be. Now, these are ancient computers, and I thank you, Wikipedia, for making this graphic, whoever did it, because I don't have to make it, so thank you. But this is obviously a very dated graphic. But the concept of VPNs has probably been around since late 80s or 90s. And it's still like the same as it was, but our usage of it is a little different. So back in the day, it was more used for connecting to intranets in enterprises, corporations, etc. And the intranet concept was that you would have sort of this private network where you would have like your own websites, that could only be accessed from inside of that network, and you could share files there, etc. Well, with the advent of project management and Google Drive and all the rest of those things, that's sort of become obsolete. So what we're going to use it for our own data protection purposes is there's actually several different reasons. So let's talk about what the functionality is. We download the VPN software to our computer, and this is made so long ago they don't even have little like a tablet or an iPhone or an Android or anything here, but we can download it to those things as well. And private internet access, the one that we're going to be using, actually works on all of your devices, so that's really cool. Now, once you have the software installed, you connect, you put in your username and password, and I'll show you that in a minute, and then it connects to this where it says head office here. And you can scratch out what it says head office because that doesn't really matter. What this can be now is VPN server. So you connect from your location to the VPN server, and then from the VPN server it goes out over the internet and connects to whatever internet site or chat program or file downloading service or torrent or whatever you're doing. They will be connected through this VPN server. So what happens is they think you live here or you are working here at wherever this office is, wherever the server is located. And of course you're not. You could be located in a different country than where this VPN server is. So your mind is probably already racing with what this means. But first, let's start at the fundamentals. This connection is secure and encrypted when you use a VPN. When you don't use a VPN, it is not secure and encrypted. And that means that your ISP can tell everything that you do on the internet, whether it's at home or at the office. And if you're at the office, your boss can also be finding out this information. Or, for example, if you're in a library, they can see what you're doing as well. They can see the websites that you're browsing, and they can tell if you've accessed things that you shouldn't, and they can also block you from accessing certain websites. So when you have a secure connection over the VPN, they can't tell any of that anymore. So you can literally connect to any place or anything that you want to, so long as they don't block your actual VPN connection. So that's why it behooves you, if you're going to be connecting over the VPN, do not just go around telling everybody, hey, I'm connecting to the VPN and look at what I'm getting away with, because sooner or later the word might get back to them and they might find a way to block that port that you're using or the IP address that you're connecting to at the VPN server. Now, I haven't found this to be the case yet because I keep it on the down low, and so do many other people. But nevertheless, you should be aware of that, okay? So now that's just one of the things that the internet or that the VPN can do, is secure your data. The second thing is, as I mentioned, it can secure your IP, because again, the only people that know what your actual IP address of your house, of your connection at your house or wherever you're connecting from, is going to be the VPN server. Nobody else can find out this information any longer. And that means none of the ad trackers, none of the programs, no website that you visit can tell where you are located at all, except for thinking that you're here at this VPN server. Now, that leads me into the next step, which is anonymity, because now they don't have any way of telling who is actually using this VPN server. And in fact, there might be hundreds, if not thousands of people that connect through this VPN server. So it's for them to collect data on that particular IP address does them absolutely no good, because all they're going to get is conflicting information. So then finally, one of the great things that it does and how it protects you is it's better than, for example, a proxy that you might be able to get. And a proxy is, I'm not going to go into details here, but basically that only works in certain programs like a web browser, and it's not always reliable. They're typically speed limited, they're not always great services, etc., and they tend to get used up if they're free. And in this case, the VPN routes all of your connections, not just web browsing, but your chat programs. As I said before, torrent and anything else that you can be doing is going to go through this, because it's going to go through the VPN and be secure, because that's how the system works. It takes over your internet connection. So some of the other cool things that we can do with the VPN, and this is going to be, this will start your mind racing. Obviously once we get past like the security features, now let's start looking at some of the other cool stuff, like unblock geo-restricted websites. Okay, I'm not going to mention the exact ones out there, but there are a lot of different video streaming sites out there, and also TV streaming apps, for example. I have successfully been able to test this. You can get around geo-blocking this way, and it's not just for those types of purposes. I once was part of a group that had offices in other countries, and those other countries have censorship, and by using a VPN they were actually able to get outside of their country's censorship and be able to connect and do different things on the web that they weren't technically allowed to do. So, I mean, that's, be careful when you're doing stuff like that, but at the same time, sometimes desperate situations call for desperate measures. So, you can use it for those purposes. Now, let's go look at something that's a little bit more practical, that's not so potentially black hattish or gray hattish. Let's say that we want to use a geo-based feature. Like, for example, if I were to go to a search engine, like say DuckDuckGo here, and make sure that I am not connected to the internet. Actually, I'll leave it connected. Right now I'm connected to Silicon Valley through private internet access. You can see that as I hover over the cursor here. And also, as I'm here, and I hit refresh on private internet access's website, you can see, okay, so we have 173.239.228.9, and our ISP is LogiWeb. That'll come back here in a second. So what that means is that sees that as my ISP and my internet, my IP address. That isn't my IP address, and that is not my server. My ISP is actually Suddenlink, and so I'm not going to show you my IP address right now, but it says I'm protected by PIA, so this does work. Now let's look, like I said, let's do some geo-tracking stuff, and you'll see what I'm talking about, or geo-based, I guess, searches. So what we want to do here is go to, let's say we want to search. Let me change this. We're not going to be in Silicon Valley. We're going to go and we're going to say that we're in Toronto, Canada. Now you can't see this, but I just changed that. I just changed the server, and there's a little flyout that says that it's connecting on another monitor. That's just one of the limitations of using multiple monitors. I should see here. Yep, there we go. Okay, so you are connected. So let's do a refresh and make sure that we get the page to pull up. Actually, we'll go and look on Google while that's loading. Whoops, not Google. How about Google? That should work better, I think. There we go, Google. So if you notice down here in the corner, it says Canada. Okay, so we can already see, and it also says Google offered in Francois. So that's really cool. That means that if I'm in Canada, I can actually view this in Francois. If I'm in Montreal, or if I'm Quebec, or if I'm in another country and I have a native language, I can search there. So now one of the cool things that you can do with Google is, for example, let's say I'm gonna go either move there, or I'm gonna take a trip to where is it connected to? I already forgotten. Toronto. Okay, so let's say I'm gonna take a trip to Toronto, and we're gonna look for best hotel. Now notice I'm not typing in best hotel in Toronto, but look at what it automatically suggests, best hotel in Toronto. Now I'm not typing that in, but you can see already here is a map of Toronto, and it's got all of, it's recommending all of these things within Toronto, and additionally I get access to all of these different websites. At the bottom you can see that the Google thinks I am in Toronto, Ontario. So no matter where I select, whatever country, and of course you can see here on private internet access, we can connect to, there's lots of them in the United States, there's some in the UK, There's some in Canada, there's in Australia, New Zealand, any place, Denmark, and all over the world. So, you know, if you want to browse in Brazil or in Mexico or in your native language, wherever that is, or find very specific results, that's a great way to do it. Another cool thing to do is if you're a marketer and you want to be able to check search engine optimization results or website listing ranking results, this is another great thing that you can use. Because let's say that I am going to connect to Florida, and I want to see how I have I'm marketing for a chain or something like that, and I want to see my website ranking results. So I'm going to look for I don't know. Let's see how well if I type in best diner, let's see how high my Denny's that I'm marketing. I'm not actually marketing for them. I don't do any of that kind of stuff anymore. But let's see how high that comes up. So we go best diner in Orlando. Sure. Is there a Denny's there? I have no idea, but we'll find out. So you can see this has changed to Orlando where the map is. And let's see, does Denny's even come up here? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. Okay, so you see, if there is one in Denny's, or if there's a Denny's in Orlando, you know, and you're listening in and you're the marketer there, you better get to work, man, because looks like Jack and Mary's Diner has beat you to the punch, and they're getting higher search ranking results than you are. So yeah, I did use this a little bit when I was doing internet marketing for people, so it does have that advantage. So now let's go on to something else that's a little bit more interesting. Before I do that, I just want to tell you, some of these different servers that you can connect to they work better than others. It seems like the further away you are from the origination point to the server that you're connecting to can have some effect on it. You know, weather between the places, or you know, there might be problems with the data being a little slow getting back and forth because of congestion on the internet. But basically, you know, generally speaking, it's been fast. And you know, sometimes the servers might not work at all, like a particular one might not work. But in my testing, I have found that private internet access has worked in almost every single situation I've ever tried it in. And as I said before, I've been able to use it not only for marketing, but for research and for other things. So now you can see some of the really cool stuff that VPNs can do for you, and I'll let you figure out more ideas on how you can use VPNs. So let's talk about private internet access and some of the features, and let's go back to their website, because I feel like because they have specific details that I want to highlight. So one of the first things is that their pricing is fantastic. I'm currently using the monthly plan, but I'm going to be switching to the 2-year plan, because look at this, $2.91 a month to have this type of protection is just incredible if you sign up for that 2-year plan. Yearly it's $333, as you can see, or monthly is $695. Now, depending on when you watch this video, maybe the price isn't going to be that. Please don't hold me to that. And then it looks like you can do bulk purchase inquiries. So like if maybe you have like a business or a group or something that wants to do this, you can go through that. Additionally, here's what they do in particular that I like. Okay, PIA works on all apps. They already have come up with on all devices. They've already come up with apps for OS X, iOS, Linux, Android, Windows. So like no matter what you're using, it basically works on everything. And that is really awesome. Secondly, you can pay using whatever you want. You can use gift cards, you can use Bitcoin, PayPal, whatever you want to use. Of course, you can use credit cards. I have no idea why I would pay with a gift card, but I suppose people get traded gift cards. I'm not really sure. Again, here's another feature, 3,059 servers in 28 countries. I suppose that means they have redundancy, and that's why their bandwidth is always so good. When I use the California or I use the Silicon Valley connections, they're always really good bandwidth. Okay, so let's go ahead and try here on speedtest.net. Always difficult to do a live test because you're never really sure what the results are going to be. But I'm connected. It says it's going to connect me to Miami, Florida. I am connected using the private internet access out of Florida, so I don't know exactly where it is based. I suppose we can find that out, but let's go ahead and do the speed test. My house is in Northern California, and so this is across the United States for me to connect. It shows 115 ping. That's not super fast, but that is certainly fast enough to do even gaming or something like that. That'll be plenty fast for that. And then download, you can see, I mean, PIA is really great, 97.61 mbits per second. That's plenty fast to do any sort of downloading that you need. And I'm sure it would keep going up, but I think that's the cap on my plan at my home. And we're getting like 6 point something upload. So that's fast enough to stream, that's fast enough to game with, that's fast enough to download. So, you know, depending on what server you're going to connect to, there might be different results for you, so don't hold me to that. But at the same time, I just wanted to show that it is plenty fast. So back over here to the PIA app, let's go through a couple more of the cool things that they do. It's, like I said, it's cheap, 28 different countries, 7-day return policy. If you don't like it, it doesn't work on your computer or your devices or whatever, you can go ahead and request your money back. 24/7 support. If you have any trouble, just contact them through their website. Here's another major one that I didn't bring up previously because I just wanted to put it in here on the private internet access part. But basically, there is no logging to the servers, and that shows, they mentioned that, no traffic logs. They keep no logs. That means even they don't have any sort of trace as to where you've been or what you've been doing, because their servers write no logs. So if you need more information, please click through that link in the description. Let me show you a couple of cool things about the app itself. If we go into settings, it actually says I can't do that until I disconnect, so let me just disconnect real quick. So now that shows me what my username and my password is. So when you get that subscription info, you'll plug it in there, and then you can set up your connection however you want. This is an old trick that I've learned a long time ago. 8080 is actually a port that is, for those of you that know this, web browsing is typically done over port 80. But you can run different programs over port 8080, and it makes it look to the whole world like you are doing web browsing when you can be doing anything. So typically most ISPs will leave 8080 open, and most web browsing is actually not done on 8080, it's done on port 80. So that means that there is an opportunity for you to run this on 8080 and have everybody support it. So that's why I use it. I have this set on UDP. Request port forwarding is on. Now, PIA Mace. This is an interesting thing because technically this can block ads for you and block trackers and malware and all of that stuff while you're connected. The only thing is I don't turn it on because I need to have very finite control over the ads and that I'm blocking, as well as the trackers, because sometimes websites don't quite work right if you block too many ads or too many trackers. And also I want to make sure it blocks all of the ones that I don't want to have connecting to me or to track me. So I mean, that I'm going to mention that in a minute too, so I'm just going to move past that, but we'll return to that subject in a second. VPN kill switch. Now this is really, really handy, especially if you're using it to do like downloads on torrents and things like that, because if your internet if your ISP can stop for a second and see that you're using this, like in other words, if your connection to the VPN goes down, or if you disconnect it and your torrent keeps going, your ISP can sense that. They can tell what file you're downloading, and they can send you a notice on that, or they can cut you off, or they can find you, or what, I don't know. They'll come send goons to your house and kill you. I have no idea what they're gonna do. But same thing, you know, you get back into that same situation where anybody can track you, etc. So this is a really cool thing that means that if your internet connection, or if your private internet connection or the program stops working or whatever happens, it will actually disconnect. It cannot allow your connection to work anymore. So it sets your connection up so that if the link to PIA's server goes down, it will kill the connection. That's really handy. Plus, if you're using IPv6 to do your connection to the internet, you can get leak protection. That's a very popular thing. Use small packets and all of the rest. You can set other things like the encryption that is going to be used. You can increase that if you need to. I just leave it where it's at, and then you can always just go to simple mode and then select where you want to connect to. So let's go ahead and go back to this, and we'll just talk about our final conclusion here and some of the things that the VPNs can't do for you. So what can a VPN do for you? Well, this one can block your ads, block ads and tracking scripts if you select that option, but not all of them can. In fact, most of them do not. One of the other great things that I forgot to mention previously that you can do with PIA is you can also use it through programs like OpenVPN and other ways of connecting to VPN. So that service works with those types of programs. But again, not all VPNs do that. So additionally, VPN can't stop people from looking over your shoulder. So if you're in an office and you're accessing something that you shouldn't be, even if you're using a VPN, people can see you. No encryption is unbreakable, and so you should just know that. I mean, they would have a really difficult time decrypting the constantly moving data stream that you're doing, but in terms of being able to hack past the connection, almost every connection out there is hackable to some extent. So just be aware that no wall that you can build is perfect. There are other security exploits that have nothing to do with VPNs. For example, if you have a virus or malware on your computer, they can access the internet through the VPN. They don't need permission or anything like that. So unless you have antivirus software, you're not going to be able to stop those things. And finally, VPNs can be blocked. My final conclusion on this is VPNs fill a great missing link of protecting your internet privacy. You can protect it from your ISP or from, no matter where that is, from snoopers, like maybe at a public Wi-Fi or a motel or in the airport or any place where somebody might be able to tap into that Wi-Fi internet connection. And then also from ad trackers who might be able to geolocate you and build data about you. I want to also suggest, please don't abuse it, as I think I mentioned before, but definitely don't go around flaunting the fact that you're able to skirt geolocation or censorship. That's the type of thing that will get that blocked and taken away from you, and then what good is your VPN? It's not. You've lost the ability to use that. The final thing is, as I said, there are some drawbacks, but there's some gaps also, like the ad blocking and the scripts that you want to maybe have finite control over. You don't have that finite control with even the PIA service. So I'm going to cover that in future videos and how to protect Mozilla Firefox, Chrome, and probably even your Android device. Probably not iPhone, but probably your Android device, and how to protect it from data tracking and all of those other things. So once again, thank you so much for watching and for sticking around. I know this is a long video, but I hope you got lots of great info. Please make sure you hit the like button below the video and hit the subscribe button so that you can get many more of these videos in the future. Thanks for watching.
I just wanna see the light.